Hey everyone, ready to unpack some seriously interesting ideas about money.
Yeah,
Today we're diving into excerpts you sent us from Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
right.
This book is packed with stories and observations that kind of make you rethink how we all interact with money.
It's fascinating how Housel reveals these hidden forces that shape our financial decisions, often without us even realizing it.
Right, like his idea that no one is crazy when it comes to money decisions really caught my eye.
Yeah.
At first I was like, wait, what?
Mhm.
But then, as I read on, it made me realize how much our backgrounds and experiences shape our views on money.
Yeah, it's like we each have our own financial fingerprint, formed by everything from our childhood to the economic climate we grew up in.
I see.
This explains why what seems like a risky move to one person might feel like a perfectly reasonable choice to someone else.
And Housel uses this great example of lottery tickets.
Oh, yeah.
He points out how people who can least afford it often spend the most on lottery tickets.
Right.
It's a fascinating contradiction, right?
Absolutely. But if you think about it from their perspective, it starts to make sense.
Okay.
For someone struggling to make ends meet, a lottery ticket represents a glimmer of hope,
Yeah.
a chance to break free from their financial struggles.
I can see that.
It's an emotional decision,
Right?
driven by a deep desire for a better life.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was just starting out and barely making rent, the idea of saving money felt almost impossible.
Right.
It's like you're so focused on survival
Yeah.
that long-term financial goals seem out of reach.
And that's where understanding the psychology of money comes in.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our financial decisions aren't always driven by logic.
Gotcha.
Emotions play a huge role, and sometimes those emotions can lead us to make choices that might not be in our best interests in the long run.
Okay, so emotions matter.
Yes.
But what about luck? How much does luck play into financial success? I mean, we've all heard those stories about people striking it rich, seemingly out of nowhere.
Housel dives into this too.
Okay.
He talks about Bill Gates and how attending Lakeside School, one of the few with computer access back then, played a huge role in his success.
Wow.
Makes you wonder how different things might have been if he hadn't been in the right place at the right time.
Right. Talk about a lucky break.
Totally.
But then Housel also brings up Gates' best friend from high school, Kent Evans.
Oh, right.
Evans was just as brilliant as Gates, but tragically died in a climbing accident.
Wow.
It's a stark reminder that luck can be a double-edged sword.
Exactly. Housel introduces this idea of tails.
Okay.
Those unpredictable events that can have massive impact,
Right.
both positive and negative.
I see.
Think of it like this.
Yeah.
You might have a fantastic investment strategy, but a sudden market crash could wipe out your gains.
Huh?
Or you could stumble upon an amazing opportunity that changes your entire financial trajectory.
So while we can't control those tails,
Yeah.
we can control how we respond to them
Yeah.
and how we manage our risk, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's about understanding that even the most carefully crafted financial plans can be affected by events outside of our control.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say we should live in fear, but rather be aware of the potential downsides and make decisions that align with our risk tolerance.
This all makes me think about how much we fixate on negative news.
Oh, for sure.
Housel mentions this too, right? Like how we tend to overestimate the chances of bad things happening.
He does.
Okay.
He even tells this funny story about a Russian professor who predicted the U.S. would collapse in 2010,
Oh, wow.
which obviously didn't happen.
Wow.
But it highlights this negativity bias we all have. It's
Right.
like our brains are wired to focus on the bad stuff.
That's so true.
Yeah,
It's like one market dip can overshadow years of steady growth in our minds.
totally.
And I bet this negativity bias can lead us to make some pretty bad financial decisions.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We might sell off investments out of fear or avoid taking calculated risks because we're so focused on the potential downsides.
Okay.
It's like we're constantly bracing for impact, even when things are going well.
Okay, so we've talked about how our past experiences, luck, and even our negativity bias can influence our relationship with money.
Right.
But what about how we actually define wealth?
That's where Housel really challenges conventional thinking.
Okay.
He says wealth isn't about the flashy cars or designer clothes.
Mhm.
It's about what you don't see.
Okay,
The money not spent, the vacation skipped,
I see.
the financial security you've built.
You know, it's funny because this reminds me of my time working as a valet.
Oh, yeah.
I'd see people driving these super expensive cars,
Uh-huh.
but then I'd hear them complaining about being broke. It
Wow.
was like they had all the trappings of wealth, but were actually struggling financially.
It's a perfect illustration of Housel's point.
Right.
Someone driving a Ferrari might have a huge car payment and a mountain of debt.
Yeah.
True wealth is about having the financial freedom to make choices that align with your values, not about keeping up appearances.
I'm starting to see a theme here. It's
Yeah.
like real wealth isn't about accumulating stuff. It's about having options and control over your life.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of Howell's most powerful ideas. Freedom is the ultimate dividend.
Okay.
He argues that the true value of wealth lies in the freedom. It gives you freedom to pursue your passions, to
Right.
spend time with loved ones,
Right.
choose how you spend your days.
That resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Derek Sivers, who built his own business and achieved financial independence in his 20s. He could have chased even more money,
Right?
but he prioritized freedom and the ability to live life on his own terms.
It's inspiring, right?
It is.
It shows that financial independence isn't just a pipe dream.
Yeah.
It's something that's achievable with smart choices and a
Yeah.
long-term perspective.
It makes you think about what freedom would look like for you and how your financial decisions are helping or hindering you from getting there.
I think that's a great question for everyone listening to consider.
Right.
What does financial freedom mean to you? And what steps can you take today to move closer to that vision?
Now, before we get too carried away with dreams of freedom,
Okay.
let's talk about something that can be a bit of a minefield.
Oh.
Financial advice.
Right.
Housel uses this pretty wild story about a dentist removing a patient's teeth without consent to make a point about financial advice.
Yeah, it's a bit shocking.
It is.
But it highlights that financial advice, just like medical treatment,
Right.
shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach.
Makes sense.
What works for one person could be disastrous for another.
That makes me think of all those guaranteed get-rich-quick schemes out there.
Ugh. Yeah.
It's like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. And Housel cautions against blindly following anyone who claims to have all the answers. It's crucial to find advice that's tailored to your individual goals, risk tolerance, and circumstances.
It's like finding a good doctor.
Totally.
You need someone you trust, who understands your unique needs and can guide you towards the best possible outcome.
Exactly. And just like you do your research before choosing a doctor,
Yeah.
you should do the same when seeking financial advice.
Okay. So far, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've talked about how our past experiences, luck, and even our own psychology can affect our financial decisions.
Right.
We've also explored the idea that true wealth is about freedom and security, not just material possessions. Where do we go from here?
Well, Housel has many more fascinating stories and insights to share.
Okay.
He delves into the lives of both successful and unsuccessful investors, highlighting the choices and mindsets that contributed to their outcomes.
I'm ready for more.
Let's do it.
Let's dive into some of those stories and see what lessons we can learn.
Sounds good. One story that really stands out is about Jesse Livermore.
Considered one of the greatest stock traders of his time. He made a fortune during the 1929 crash, but then lost it all just a few years later.
That's a wild swing. What happened? Did he just get too cocky?
Housel suggests Livermore's downfall was tied to his inability to get the goalpost to stop moving. As his wealth grew,
Right.
so did his risk tolerance and his desire for even bigger wins.
Oh, I see.
Kept raising the stakes until he ultimately lost everything.
It's like that saying, more money, more problems, right?
Yeah. But in this case, it was more money, more risk,
Right.
more potential for a huge fall.
Exactly. And Housel contrasts Livermore's story with that of Abraham Germansky,
Okay.
a real estate developer who lost everything in the same crash.
Wow.
Tragically, both men ended up taking their own lives,
Oh no.
highlighting the devastating psychological impact of financial loss.
Those stories are so heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but they make a powerful point.
Right.
It's not just about getting wealthy. It's about staying wealthy and finding a sustainable approach to money that doesn't consume your entire life.
Absolutely. And on that note, Housel brings up Rick Guerin,
Okay.
a friend and investing partner of Warren Buffett.
Oh, wow.
Guerin was brilliant but impatient, while Buffett and Munger were known for their long-term approach.
Right.
Guerin ended up missing out on huge gains because he couldn't resist chasing quick profits.
I guess patience really is a virtue when it comes to investing.
Housel argues that one of the hardest financial skills is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It's so easy to fall into the trap of always wanting more, bigger, better.
Right.
But that constant striving can prevent us from enjoying what we have and appreciating our progress.
It's like we're on a treadmill running and running, but never actually getting anywhere.
Exactly. It's about finding that sense of contentment, that feeling of enough, which can be incredibly challenging in a culture that constantly tells us we need more.
This makes me think about how obsessed we are with social comparison.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard not to get caught up in what everyone else is doing,
Totally.
especially with social media constantly showcasing these seemingly perfect lives of others.
Housel acknowledges this too,
Okay.
pointing out that social comparison can lead to some really bad financial choices.
I bet.
We might stretch our budgets to buy things we can't afford just to keep up with the Jonases.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. But in this case, it can also be the thief of financial stability.
It's so true, and Housel suggests focusing on our own values and goals
Right.
rather than trying to keep up with everyone else.
Yeah.
It's about defining what success means to you and creating a financial plan that supports that vision.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about taking back control and making choices that align with what truly matters to us.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about something I've always found a bit confusing.
What's that?
Investing.
Right.
I mean, there's so much information out there. It's hard to know where to start.
Housel emphasizes that it's crucial to understand the game you're playing.
Okay.
Are you a day trader looking for quick profits?
Right.
Or are you investing for retirement?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a long-term investor.
Okay.
I'm not interested in trying to time the market or pick individual stocks.
And that's perfectly fine.
Right.
There's no one right way to invest.
Right.
The important thing is to have a strategy that fits your goals, your risk tolerance, and your understanding of the market.
One thing that always stresses me out is market volatility.
Sure.
It's hard not to panic when you see your investments losing value.
Housel suggests a really interesting way to think about volatility.
Okay.
He says to view it as a fee, the price we pay for the potential of higher returns.
So instead of seeing it as a punishment,
Right.
it's like an entry fee to the market.
Exactly. It's like paying for a gym membership.
Oh.
You might not see results every day, but over time, consistent effort leads to progress.
That's a really helpful way to reframe it.
Yeah.
And Housel also reminds us that we're not spreadsheets.
Right.
We're emotional beings.
We are human.
And those emotions can really cloud our judgment when it comes to investing.
For sure, he offers some strategies for managing those emotions,
Right.
like having a written investment plan, setting clear financial goals,
Right.
and seeking professional advice if needed.
Those are all great tips.
Yeah.
And speaking of emotions, one thing that always makes me anxious is thinking about those tail events we talked about earlier.
Oh, right.
You know, those unpredictable events that can throw a wrench into our plans.
It's natural to feel that way.
Yeah.
But Housel reminds us that we can't control everything. Instead of trying to predict the unpredictable,
Okay.
he suggests focusing on what we can control.
Right, like what?
Our savings rate, our spending habits, our risk management strategies.
It's about being prepared, not paranoid. Having an emergency fund and diversifying our investments can help to mitigate some of those risks.
Absolutely. And it's also about having a long-term perspective.
Right.
Short-term fluctuations in the market are inevitable, but over time, the market tends to trend upwards.
Yeah.
It's about riding out those storms and staying focused on our long-term goals.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the importance of understanding our own psychology, managing our emotions, and developing a long-term perspective. But what about some of the practical aspects of personal finance, like saving and spending?
Housel has a lot to say about that too.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of getting the goalposts to stop moving when it comes to our lifestyle.
That's right. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of constantly upgrading our lifestyle as our income grows.
And that can be a recipe for financial stress.
Yeah.
Housel and his wife have maintained a relatively modest lifestyle, even as their incomes have increased. Their savings rate has skyrocketed because their desires for more stuff haven't moved much.
That's really inspiring.
Yeah,
It shows that you don't have to sacrifice your happiness to achieve financial security.
exactly. It's about finding a balance between enjoying life today and planning for the future.
Housel also talks about the importance of saving for the unexpected.
Oh,
He calls it his independence fund.
Uh-huh.
It's not tied to any specific goal, but is there to provide a cushion for life's curveballs.
It's a great idea.
Yeah,
Having a financial safety net can give you peace of mind
right.
and the flexibility to navigate unexpected challenges without derailing your long-term plans.
This reminds me of something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
The importance of understanding the difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Right, we often confuse the two.
We do.
We think that wealth is about having a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But Housel argues that true wealth is about having financial security, freedom, and options.
It's about having control over your time and your choices.
Exactly, and he emphasizes that the key to building wealth is not about how much money you make,
Okay.
but about how much you save.
So it's not about income. It's about saving rate.
Precisely, and that's a powerful message.
It is.
Because it means that anyone, regardless of their income level, can build wealth if they prioritize saving.
Okay, I'm getting fired up about saving now.
Right.
What are some practical tips for boosting our savings rate?
Housel suggests a few things.
Okay.
First, start small.
Uh-huh.
Even setting aside a small amount each month can make a difference over time.
Makes sense.
Second, automate your savings.
Okay.
Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account so you don't even have to think about it.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
What about spending? I know that's an area where I could definitely improve.
Housel has a great point about efficiency.
Okay.
He reminds us that we can achieve financial success not only by increasing our income, but also by decreasing our expenses.
So it's about squeezing more juice out of the orange, so to speak.
Exactly. He uses the example of the oil crisis in the 1970s.
Okay.
Experts predicted disaster,
Uh-huh.
but instead of running out of oil,
Yeah.
we simply became more efficient in how we used it.
So instead of panicking, we adapted and found ways to do more with less.
Exactly. And the same principle applies to personal finance.
Right.
We can achieve financial security not only by earning more, but also by spending less. It's about finding ways to make our money go further.
Okay, so we need to be more efficient with our spending.
Right.
But how do we actually do that? I mean, it's easy to say spend less, but it's a lot harder to put it into practice.
Housel suggests a few strategies.
Okay.
First, track your spending. It's amazing how much money can slip through the cracks when we're not paying attention.
Right.
There are tons of apps and tools that can help you monitor your cash flow.
I've tried budgeting apps before.
Yeah.
I always give up after a few weeks.
It can be tough to stick with it,
It is.
but it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
Once you see where your money is going,
Right.
you can start to identify areas where you can cut back without feeling deprived.
That makes sense. What else can we do?
Consider your big purchases carefully.
Okay.
Do you really need that new car or that fancy gadget?
Mhm.
Or could you wait a little longer and save up for it?
That's where delayed gratification comes in.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about depriving yourself.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices about how you use your money and finding joy in the things that truly matter to you.
And don't forget about those pesky little expenses that can add up over time.
Oh, totally.
Those daily lattes, impulse buys, and subscription services you don't really use.
Those can be budget killers. It's amazing how much we can save just by being more mindful of our everyday spending habits.
This all makes me think about the power of small changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about making drastic overnight transformations,
Right.
but about incorporating small, sustainable habits that add up over time.
Housel talks about that too. He says that building wealth is like building a muscle. It takes time, effort, and consistency.
And just like you wouldn't expect to get ripped by going to the gym once,
Right.
you can't expect to achieve financial security overnight.
Totally.
It's about building those financial muscles gradually over time.
Exactly. And remember, there will be setbacks along the way.
Right.
You might overspend one month
Uh-huh.
or make a bad investment.
Yeah.
But the key is to keep learning, keep adjusting, and keep moving forward.
Okay. I'm feeling more motivated already. So we've talked about saving and spending. What about investing? I know that's an area where I need to level up my game.
Housel has some great advice on investing, too.
Okay.
He stresses the importance of having a long-term perspective, diversifying your portfolio,
Right.
and avoiding emotional decision-making.
One thing that always freaks me out is the idea of losing money in the market.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But remember, investing is a long game.
Okay.
There will be ups and downs along the way.
But over time, the market tends to go up.
So it's about riding out those waves and not panicking when things get choppy.
Exactly. And Housel suggests a few things to help manage those feelings of fear and uncertainty.
Okay, like what?
First, have a written investment plan.
Uh-huh.
This will help you to stay focused on your goals
Right.
and avoid making impulsive decisions based on market fluctuations.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I need to get better at actually writing down my goals and strategies.
it can be a game changer.
Yeah.
And second, choose investments that you understand and believe in.
Okay.
Don't just chase the latest hot stock or follow the advice of someone you don't trust.
It's about doing your own research and making informed decisions that align with your own values and risk tolerance.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
If you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure about where to start,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to consult with a qualified financial advisor.
Okay.
They can provide personalized guidance and help you to create an investment plan that meets your unique needs. That's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's okay to seek expert help, especially when dealing with something as important as our finances.
Absolutely. Now let's switch gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something that's often overlooked but incredibly important.
What's that?
Estate planning.
That's not my favorite topic.
I know.
It seems like something only older people need to worry about.
It's true that estate planning becomes more crucial as we age,
Right.
but it's never too early to start thinking about it.
Okay.
It's about making sure that our assets are distributed according to our wishes after we're gone, and that our loved ones are taken care of.
So it's not just about money.
Right.
It's about protecting our families and ensuring that our legacy is handled responsibly.
Exactly. And estate planning isn't just for the wealthy.
Okay.
Anyone who owns assets, like a home or a car, should have a plan in place.
Okay, I'm starting to see the importance of this.
Yeah.
But where do I even begin?
Housel suggests consulting with an estate planning attorney. They can guide you through the process, help you to understand your options, and create a plan that meets your specific needs.
That sounds like a good place to start.
Yeah.
I'll definitely add that to my to-do list.
It's an investment worth making.
Okay.
Now, as we wrap up our deep dive into Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money,
Right.
let's revisit a few key takeaways that can help you to live a richer, more fulfilling life.
I'm ready for a recap.
Yeah.
This book has been a real eye-opener.
It's packed with wisdom. So, to summarize, here are some final thoughts to keep in mind.
Okay.
First, remember that money is a tool, not an end in itself.
Yes.
It's a means to an end,
Okay.
a way to achieve our goals, to live our dreams,
Yeah.
and to make a difference in the world.
Right.
But it's not the only thing that matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about putting money in its proper place and not letting it rule our lives.
Exactly. Second, financial success is about more than just money. It's also about finding contentment, purpose, and joy in our lives.
I see.
It's about having meaningful relationships,
Right.
pursuing our passions, and making a positive contribution to the world.
So it's about living a well-rounded life that's rich in experiences, connections, and fulfillment.
Precisely. Third, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
Managing our finances can be challenging,
It can be.
and there's no shame in seeking professional guidance.
Right.
A qualified financial advisor can help you to develop a personalized plan that aligns with your goals and values.
It's like having a financial coach in your corner,
Exactly.
cheering you on and helping you to stay on track.
Exactly. And finally, remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Financial success is a journey, not a destination. It's about making smart choices consistently over time
Yeah.
and not getting discouraged when we encounter setbacks along the way.
So it's about building those financial muscles gradually, celebrating our progress, and not giving up when things get tough.
You got it. And remember, learning about personal finance is an ongoing journey.
Okay.
There's always more to learn, new strategies to explore, and different perspectives to consider.
I'm feeling inspired to keep learning and keep growing.
Awesome.
What are some resources you recommend for continuing our financial education?
There are so many great resources out there.
Like what?
Books, podcasts, blogs, financial advisors, the list goes on.
And of course, there's The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel,
Of course.
which has given us so much food for thought today.
It's a fantastic starting point for anyone who wants to develop a healthier and more fulfilling relationship with money.
And speaking of fantastic resources, I want to mention a channel that's all about personal and professional growth through the power of books.
Oh, yeah.
The Growth Reads.
Oh, I love the Growth Reads.
They are great.
Their weekly deep dives into insightful books are incredible.
They're so insightful. They share key takeaways, thought-provoking discussions, and actionable advice,
Awesome.
making it easy to apply what you learn to your own life.
It's like having a book club and a personal development coach all rolled into one.
Exactly. You can find them at thegrowththreads.com.
Great resource.
It's definitely worth checking out.
I agree. And before we wrap up completely,
Okay.
I want to leave you with one final thought from Housel that really resonated with me.
I'm all ears.
He says, the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is priceless. It is the highest dividend money can pay.
That's a powerful statement.
It is.
It really captures the essence of what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
Financial freedom and the ability to live life on our own terms.
Exactly. It's not just about accumulating wealth.
Right.
It's about using that wealth to create a life that is meaningful, fulfilling, and aligned with our values.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great reminder that money is a tool to help us live our best lives, not something to be feared or obsessed over.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure diving into these ideas with you.
I've learned so much today.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you for sharing your insights and expertise.
It was my pleasure. Yeah, it really has been.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day worries about money
Right.
that we forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah, Housel reminds us that true wealth is about having the freedom to live a life that aligns with our values and goals.
Right.
It's not about keeping up with the Joneses or chasing the latest trends. It's about creating a life that we love, a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
It's about finding what truly matters to us and making choices that support that vision.
absolutely.
I think that's a great takeaway from our deep dive into the psychology of money.
I agree. Housel's book is packed with insights that can help us all to make smarter decisions about money.
Right.
But it's also a reminder that money is just one piece of the puzzle. It's important to cultivate a healthy relationship with money,
Right.
but it's equally important to focus on the other things that bring us joy and meaning in life.
Absolutely. And speaking of resources that can help us grow and learn,
Yes.
let's give another shout out to the Growth Reads at thegrowthreads.com.
It's a fantastic website for anyone who loves to learn and expand their horizons through books.
Each week they share key takeaways, thought-provoking discussions,
Right.
and actionable advice from insightful books, just like Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
It's a great way to discover new books and to deepen your understanding of the ones you've already read.
I highly recommend checking it out.
Me too. And on that note,
Yeah?
I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure diving deep into the psychology of money with you.
I've learned so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and expertise.
It was my pleasure. Remember, the journey to financial well-being is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making choices that align with your values. And don't forget to enjoy the ride.
That's great advice. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the things that matter most.
Awesome. Sounds good.